You ever seen these little weird things before? Well, maybe you haven't, but they're actually here to help you, and you're gonna find out how right now. What's up, everybody? It's Johnny with SixPackShortcuts.com. Today, I've got some really special guests, and no, it's not these little nipple-looking things here. I've got some really special guests. I've got my friend Genevieve as well as my good buddy Mike here today, and they are actual massage therapists, certified in not only just massaging, but other types of methods of recovery. So Genevieve, what is it exactly that you do?
Hi, my name's Genevieve, and I've been a massage therapist since 2010, and the different modalities that I specialize in is structural integration, the Gua Sha, which is also known as graspins in some areas of the world, and also kinesiotaping.
Thank you for sharing. So Mike, very glad to have you here.
Thank you, sir.
So what is it you do?
I'm a NASM certified personal trainer and licensed massage therapist here in Austin. I specialize in cupping therapy and as well as structural integration also.
So I wanted to bring them in today because I know a lot of you guys at home are working out like crazy, losing weight, adding muscle, and along the way, I'm sure some of you guys have run across some aches, some pains, some injuries. You know, that kind of stuff happens when you put your body through rigorous workout programs. So there's a lot of things you can do to help prevent those things, but also to help alleviate that pain. So why might somebody want, either structural integration, cupping, or, the Gua Sha, which you talked about?
Well, a lot of the reasons as to why people are going to want that is because they're coming in with an injury. That's most of the time when I see people is they've hurt themselves. It's really important that it not just be an, oh my God, something hurts, but also part of your regular maintenance. Just because of the fact that it's not only going to fix problems, but it's also going to go ahead and prevent problems.
So what might be a couple common things somebody might experience where maybe they'll want to look into doing something like this?
Well, a lot of people think they get kind of intimidated by the cups. It's a traditional Chinese medicine. It's been around for thousands of years. It's a very effective form of myofascial release.
Okay. So what exactly is myofascial release?
So your muscle has like a sheath around it, kind of like when you're cutting a steak, like a cellophane wrap around it. And what cupping helps do is release it to let the muscle expand to its normal length. Because
you get like adhesions and buildups in between the fascia, which is that cellophane, and that can create pain and impingements. That's the big thing I wanted to talk about. Is a lot of guys think they'll have like a torn rotator cuff or a torn shoulder, when in reality it's just an impingement of some sort. And stuff like the Gua Sha or the scraping, that could take care of an impingement, right?
Yeah, the biggest difference for the cupping versus the Gua Sha is the cupping is a negative pressure, so it's going to be sucking it up. And I know it became really, really popular with
the Olympics,
Michael Phelps in the Olympics,
in the bruising, yeah,
and the bruising, because sometimes it will mark you, and it can mark you for anywhere from about 5 to 7 days. It really just depends on the person that's doing the cupping. But the Gua Sha is not a negative vacuum pressure. It's going to be straight pressure, and a lot of people use it for a little bit more specifically muscle separation, which is really, really big with the elite athletes, the competitors, and things like that.
So that's some really good information we got from Genevieve and Mike about exactly, what this types of therapy can do for you. And now they're actually going to demonstrate on me a little bit of the cupping, a little bit of the scraping, and a little bit of the structural reintegration. Now the structural reintegration, that's putting your muscles back to where they're supposed to be, right?
Well, I usually explain it as it's the most chiropractic you can get without being chiropractic, because again, as massage therapists, we are not allowed to actually do any form of chiropractic adjustments. But the structural integration is actually meant to reset the muscle at the very basic level, so it's going to hold your structure properly.
Okay.
And that's why a lot of times too, chiropractors and massage therapists now work together, simply because of the fact that you have the skeletal system and the musculoskeletal system, and they have to work together.
Exactly. So why don't we start with a little basic structural integration? So for some of you people at home, this might be maybe a starting point for you, something that you would want to try first?
Actually, it really depends on the individual person.
Okay.
Because deep tissue is a broad spectrum name for a lot of different modalities of massage. They kind of get all clumped in there.
Like Swedish and...
Swedish is like the very first one you're ever going to experience.
Okay.
It's not really going to do much other than make you feel good and relax. Deep tissues above that, and then you have the structural integration, which is kind of a step above that.
Okay.
So, or at least that's how I usually
Okay.
kind of classify them.
Sure.
Deep tissue, though, it's going to have a lot more of the corrective types, like your trigger point therapy, the
Active release.
The active release, the Gua Sha and the cupping usually fall under that category as well.
So we got a lot of really good information, and as you can see, there's really a different type of therapy out there for everybody, depending on your goals, like she said, depending on what's going on with your body. So without further ado, why don't we go ahead and do a little demonstrating.
So we're going to start with Johnny's chest right now. The pec major is actually a big convergent muscle. You have the upper fibers that go from the clavicle over to the humerus, and you have sternal fibers that go all the way to the humerus, and costal fibers to the humerus. So we'll start at the bottom and move.
So somebody that does chest a lot would probably benefit.
Yeah, this is going to open it up a lot.
So you also get better blood flow, which actually can help with your growth as well, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so when you get better blood flow in the muscles, that means you're getting more nutrition, more everything you need. Your macronutrients, your micronutrients, everything flows more to the area, so the recovery is better as well as the growth. So why are you moving my arm back and forth like that?
Because the fibers, you have the upper fibers and the lower fibers, and they have different actions.
Okay.
The upper fibers are going to flex the glenohumeral joint,
Okay.
and the lower fibers are going to extend the glenohumeral joint.
Okay.
Another reason as to why it's good to move it is so that he doesn't get stuck, because I've gotten stuck before and it's painful to actually do that for the client.
Alright, so now we're going to work your pec minor.
Now the pec minor is an evil little tiny muscle on the outside, and it gets neglected a lot. So with working on it, it's really important that you're mindful of the fact that it's really sensitive, but also it's going to have a huge impact on the range of motion for the shoulder in general.
So Jen, can you explain how there's realistically a pec major, pec minor? There's not necessarily, a lot of guys think there's like an upper, middle, and lower chest.
Most muscles actually are going to have usually about 2, just like the quads. Everyone refers to them as quads, but they're actually made up of 4 different muscles. Hamstrings, similar situation. A lot of the things in the back too. Your trapezius muscle is considered as 1, but usually as massage therapists we will break it up into 2, sometimes 3, depending on how it is. And it will probably actually give you a lot better results with your workouts to know how to isolate those individual muscles.
Exactly. That's why we're on our workouts, we're always trying to really isolate. We do a lot of compound lifts, but we also supplement in a lot of isolation movements, because that's how you really grow them, you're to the fullest potential. So one of the main reasons I really, sought out Mike's expertise was because I've had some serious issues with my right shoulder. I've had a partial rotator cuff tear, and over time, from imbalances in compensation, I created impingements. And I thought my tear got worse when realistically it was just bad impingements. And my range of motion suffered, and a lot of it was due to the pec minor, which I had no idea until I saw these two.
You go ahead and get your biceps now.
Okay. Why might it be good for somebody to, really do this with their biceps?
This is something that's really difficult to do on your own with your biceps, but biceps are generally really hard to stretch individually. It gets really important because your shoulder can actually negatively affect your bicep can negatively affect your shoulder, just simply because it attaches up that way. So sometimes when people are saying, oh, I'm having a shoulder issue, it's really going to be the bicep or it's going to be the pec that's actually creating that problem.
Right.
Especially with nowadays, everyone's on their phone, everyone's on a computer, and everyone's super forward rotated all the time, looking down and looking forward. So there is always a lot of shoulder issues that are tied in with that stuff. Yeah.
Interesting. So that's why it's good to see somebody like Mike or Genevieve, because they know this. They know where to look. They know if you're having pain in your shoulder. It might not necessarily be your shoulder that is injured per se, or has the impingement. It could be your bicep pulling on it. It could be your lat pulling on it. Over tightness, overactiveness, or underactiveness. So that makes a lot of sense. Why does it hurt so bad?
Now, part of the reason as to why forearms hurt for some people is because of grip. And if you're going up in weight, it's really, really common to start noticing that your elbow or your forearms are going to start hurting. And it's just because you're clenching super, super hard and getting that white knuckle type of reaction when you're hanging on to dumbbells and different things like that.
I almost feel like on my right side of the body, I almost feel like I went and worked out. I feel like I have a pump right now on this side.
Well, and it's not uncommon for people to feel like they have a pump. Actually, it's really common for people to say, oh, I feel like I have this great, amazing pump. And then they go to bed, and then they wake up the next morning, and they are smaller.
Okay.
And sometimes that'll happen, especially if you've never gotten a massage before. And you get something super intense like this, and you wake up the next morning, and you're like, oh my God. Simply because of the fact that with massage, it's not only going to increase your circulation, exponentially speeding up the nutrient waste exchange with the muscles, but it's also going to go ahead and break up the minor scar tissue that creates your size. So with that, usually in order to actually create more gains and a lot more growth for you, what you have to do is you have to get rid of the old scar tissue so you can create new.
So we're just going to lightly put some lotion on his back, because you want to be able to move the cups around. I got a bigger cup for the bigger muscles and a smaller cup for the occipital area. So this is the standard cup that I use for cupping therapy. You want them to be plastic or silicone, not glass. And there's two types of cupping. There's fire cupping, which I don't do, and there's vacuum cupping. Alright, so the more you pump this, the deeper it's gonna get. So we're gonna start just doing it about medium, just to get some blood flow up in here. And release the fascia a little bit. You can already see with just 2 passes it's starting to redden a little bit. And the good thing about this is you can get up here in the scapula and get around the bones. Whereas doing it with your hands, it would be kind of hard. I don't like to let it sit there, leave hickeys.
Yeah, can you explain that? Because I'm sure most people are used to the Michael Phelps giant 3-inch around hickeys. Why wouldn't you want to just let them sit there?
You can. It's just not gonna hurt. It's not gonna hurt you. It's just stagnant blood. The older the injury, the darker the little hickey is gonna be. It's actually petechia, which is just little broken capillaries.
Oh, okay.
And I usually move it around until I find a point where it's kind of hard to move, like right around here. And I'll let it sit there for a minute. Yeah, if you want to, you could even just pull it up, release it, pull it up, release.
I can actually feel when he's running that up and down my back, especially right now, I can actually feel the muscle fibers being pulled into it and the release, the fascia being kind of separated from it. It has a very weird sensation. It's kind of hard to describe, but it feels really good. Nice.
The biggest thing for most competitors, especially male competitors, is their legs. Guys generally have a lot easier time getting their chest and upper body to come in and a harder time getting their legs in and to actually show properly. So a lot of people will turn to some form of method to go ahead and actually get their muscles to be more prominent for their legs, which is what I use Gua Sha a lot for.
So you guys at home trying to make your legs bigger, more defined, this could be something that would really help.
Yes, it definitely helps a lot, and a lot of times too, like I was talking about earlier, it's not necessarily going to show up the day of. You're going to feel like you have a really, really awesome, wonderful pump, and then you go get some good 8-hour sleep, more if possible, depending on what stage of the competition you're actually in, and it should go ahead and actually show up really, really well the next morning. Usually I go in just really general and broad, just to kind of get a feel for where there are adhesions, which adhesions, knots, very similar, and you can feel them like they were talking about earlier. Feels like, you know, little tiny rubber band snaps. So usually for this, again, you do a lot of the manual work with your hands to find where you're headed. So we're just going to take the point here and go straight along. Again, the quads do a lot of the same movements. That's why they get clustered into just being called the quads. They do a little bit of different stuff, and what makes them not show up a whole bunch is because they're adhering together. So that's what we're doing right now, is we're breaking down the adherence between the individual muscles in order to get some better definition. And this one right here, it'll help to kind of give a little bit more of that teardrop.
I can definitely feel her separating the individual muscles for sure.
Some massage therapists, again, going back to what we were talking about earlier, about the deep pressure and how that kind of works out, is simply because of the fact that deep pressure is not always good, and that's the most important part of actually having a good therapist, is to know not where your individual mental limits are for pain, but where your body's pain limit stops.
Yeah. You hear that? But it actually is starting to feel better now. They're scraping up, there's filled up adhesions, knots, and that's what they're scraping out. Is that right, Jen?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. You hear that? Oh. All right, guys. Well, I just had some wonderful scraping of the Gua Sha from my lovely Gua Sha, and the scraping done from lovely Genevieve. And as you can see, my legs are pretty red, but the blood flow is good. I can actually see more vascularity right now. I feel like I have a pump, so that was awesome. Now what we're gonna do is do a little bit of kinesio taping.
Yes, kinesio taping. So
you may have seen it in the CrossFit competitions, I think made it popular, and then some of the Olympic athletes and some basketball players. You'll see them what looks like why does that guy just have athletic tape all over him? Well, it's a little bit more science behind that. So Genevieve's gonna kind of explain what we're doing here, and we're actually gonna do some on my recently seriously injured hamstring. I actually did tear my hamstring doing some weighted lunges, aggravated it. So Genevieve's gonna hook me up with some taping to hopefully help heal that a little faster.
Yep, so there's two separate types of taping. There's a lymphatic drainage, which is what we're gonna be doing for your giant bruise, which looks a lot like this. It's gonna have a whole bunch of tails and stuff like that before it gets put on. It's gonna have the curved edges and things like that as well. Now the curved edges are important because they actually help to make sure that the tape doesn't pull off right away. If you have an edge, it always gets caught on stuff.
Okay.
The next common one would be an eye strip. It's gonna look similar to this,
okay.
Obviously with rounded edges. And yeah, this is usually what you'll actually see on most athletes, or a variation of.
Okay.
And these get put on with no tension, so they just kind of get draped and drug along. Now, the great thing about actually doing the taping stuff is it creates kind of like a micro massage for however long you actually have it on there. I usually do a lot of this for people that come in with injuries, people that come in and have really stubborn adhesions and things like that, structural imbalances. So it's really common for me to do a lot of this type of stuff on people's shoulders, and actually on feet as well, feet, calves, those types of things. Now we're pulling all this over to the edge, and so it doesn't go down here onto the joint, just so it's easier to kind of manage.
All right, so as you can see, you not only, of course, want to work out hard, you of course want to have a very nice diet, nutrition plan, but also you need to take care of your body, take care of the minor aches and pains, but as well as preventive maintenance, especially if you're trying to continually progress. Either that's continually lose more belly fat, continually adding muscle, or just living a nice healthy lifestyle, having that nice functional athletic body. You have to take care of your temple. Listen to it, talk to your therapist, let them work on you, and then you might be able to find some things out about yourself that you didn't even know. You might be able to achieve some things that you didn't even think you could achieve. So that's all we've got here for today. If you liked what you saw in this video, please comment below. Please give it a share as well. Also subscribe to us on YouTube for more fitness, health, nutrition, massage therapy, recovery, preventive maintenance, everything in order to help you guys out achieve all your goals. That's all I've got for today. It's Johnny. We got Mike, Genevieve. Thank you so much for coming. Hope you guys have a great day.